Hello and welcome back to your part 4 ACCA SBL June 2024 exclusive notes review analysis. I'm going to take you through and let's get started straight on the video. As always, if you'd like access to these notes, click the link in the description. And I also am affiliated with Stranty, where you can access their free pre-scene guide. I'm sure you've seen it in the previous videos. I am affiliated with them, so if you were to purchase a mock, any courses, that would help to support the YouTube channel. So as always, thank you so much for all of the support. And it's going to be the difference doing those mocks and getting you over the line to pass your examination. And for your notes in this recording, this is important because we're starting on the strategic position now of PVS, and it links into so many important areas that have real legs that could come up on your exam. So starting off right the way in terms of prices, and we're told there the prices are charged by some other vet practices and organisations are significantly lower by those charged by PVS. And that is a critical thing you need to know going into your examination, that they try and go for a differentiated service, and we're given sort of those three different service lines on there. But these features have historically driven PVS's growth and provided a competitive advantage. But as we've seen in the last 5 years, there's been a shift in demand because we've got younger pet owners. They want different things. They want the flexibility of 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So these are a bit outdated for the previously sort of over 35 clients on there. One positive thing as to our current location, we have 85% in town centres, which is what the younger customers actually want. It's popular from where it is located, it's convenient on there. But then it's a case of, well, we're not actually open for the times which the customers want to come in. So we've got the locations, we're just not fitting it to what the customers actually want. And then on to the second service feature that we have here in terms of innovation. It's not included in the services list provided in page 2 for this. So we're looking at here innovative services, wide ranges, and the two key things for you to get down to note in case it comes up on your exam is therapy and acupuncture for the animals itself. And they've won awards on there for these actual services that they provide, but we don't have any indication that there's actually demand for these services for therapy and acupuncture. And if you have downloaded the notes, you can see, and I'll just quickly scroll up to the top, in the services provided on the right-hand side here, we don't have anything about acupuncture or really therapy on there for it. So are they just providing services that are really, really niche? And is it what the services of the market are really demanding on that? Quality of service, that PVS has historically had excellent reputation, quality of service, happy staff on there, all the fantastic things you want in a business. However, this is what used to happen, because as you can see when we come on to some of the graphs down below in the future recordings, we have staff turnover at 19%. We have client satisfaction on the downturn as well. It's not been as nice as it has previously in the past. And this is a really key phrase I would make sure you get down as to PVS has won awards 11 times. But the key thing being in the last 6 years, they haven't won any. And again, that would be a great thing for you to apply in your examination. It could fit into a variety of different areas and requirements that could be set. The industry itself, not keeping up with changes that are demanded by the actual workplace on there. And a key thing on here, PVS's revenue has started on the decline and the market share has dropped every year since 2000. Terrible news. Shareholder wealth maximization dropping. And we'll come on to in a later recording about that revenue as well. But it's crying out for the ownership from Praecuro, as you can see down here in the board of directors, to sort something out. As we have competitors, they're aggressively undercutting on price. The clients, the people who own the actual pet, are really sensitive to price, and that is where, although they offer a very different service culture to PVS's, they've been taking market share, and this is where you get the impression that clients just want the procedure for their pets, get it done, and they're sort of, they don't mind about the service, but they are more price sensitive. Now let's come on to the ownership. This is Praecuro, who was one of the who was the founder on there. Make sure you remember his name. It's great to apply that actually in your answers on the exam day. No longer has any active involvement, but still owns 11.11% of shares. And this is the key bit in terms of how it's structured that you need to have in your mind going into your SBL exam, because they could definitely throw something in about capital structure and the ownership. So we have 8 directors that have 11.11% each, plus Pitié, and that gets us up to our 100% ownership on there. We actually have a new CEO, so this is where you go to, hang on, are we having a new CEO? And then looking to change the direction of the organisation moving forward. Fantastic on there, because something needs to change, because otherwise it's likely that PVS may be acquired. Who knows? That could be something linked to a requirement. But this is the last bit on here for the ownership. I'll put my mouse on it, it's that important. Where PVS is unlisted, so it's not gone through an initial public offering, it's not a PLC, and is all equity financed by the actual ownership model on there, so from the directors and Pitié. So straight away I'm thinking, well, they're telling us it's unlisted, what's that going to link into? And that is where we're going to get onto the non-executive directors in a second. But potentially in your exam, they could refer to a IPO actually becoming listed on there. And in terms of all equity finance, something has to change in this business about how it's going to be operating and how are you going to finance that? Well, they could be looking at taking on some external debt, changes in the capital structure, and more sort of areas that could potentially come up in the unseen information on your exam day, just to be aware of. Coming on to the board and the organisational structure now, there is only one non-executive director, which as it is at the moment in terms of being unlisted is fine, but if it was to be listed, then at least half of the board should be made up of non-executive directors on there. So this is where you may get in the unseen information areas of the board that you want to refer to and changes that you could potentially recommend. So it's just being aware that you have these sort of corporate governance and the ethical stance on it, that this is what would need to change as well. And coming on to and going into a bit more detail now on the board of directors, again, possible areas for the exam that could link to being listed, you get the impression that the directors really have all the control. They've made the decision to not have an audit committee, a nomination committee, a remuneration committee. And for context, the company, even though its revenue's been dropping down in the last few years, it still turned over $165 million. When we come on to page 9, again, if you've got the notes yourself, scroll down to have a look at it. So it's a case of they're in charge of setting their own salaries, how it's going to be actually functioning there. But if it was to go through an IPO, those are functions that would need to be considered. And it's going to link into what internal controls does the business actually have in place currently. This is where, are we getting the full picture, how it's actually operating? And when it comes down to the COO, or the Chief Operating Officer, just have a little think to yourself if you were the Chief Operating Officer in this case. So does the Chief Operating Officer actually get a full picture of what is going on? Because they are in charge and accountable for the operations of the business. And they don't want to upset different parties because they've got to deal with HR, legal issues, the senior veterinarians that basically run the practices 7 days a week, the district managers, the clinic managers. And what happens, just picture this in your head, that up to 10 clinical managers that you can see in the flowchart report then to the senior veterinarians who run the practices, who are already super, super busy, who then manage to find time to then get that message across to one of the 5 district managers who they're accountable to. And then the district managers then tell the Chief Operating Officer what is actually going on. And you're going, it's such a long process. Is the complete message actually going to get passed across on there? And it's a case of, well, you've only got 5 district managers for 168 clinics. It's a recipe for disaster. But does that Chief Operating Officer know what's going on the ground? And again, could link into something on the lines of a SWOT analysis. We then come on to the other board of directors on here, so CFO, CMO, HR, and it's really key that you get these down in terms of referring back to the directors when it comes to the exam. So straight away, if I was in your shoes on the exam day, when I'm reading through the requirements, ask yourself, really good note for you to get down now, which director does the requirement that they're referring to link to their responsibility? So if it's a case of they have a legal issue, or maybe there's a health and safety issue or a court case, it's the legal director's responsibility, and so on and so forth for it. So it's just so that you can be more specific in how you're answering the requirement. This is really key about what I touched on for the directors having control, decision making, all centralized. Anything to do with new services, salary levels is all sorted by the directors. We've only got one non-executive director. Input from them, it sounds like because there's so many of them, they run the show, and that's how it actually goes ahead. And I touched on before, and use their words like efficiently and effectively. They've only got 5 district managers for 168 clinics. So is that enough, or is there a disconnect between the board of directors who make all these centralized decisions about what's actually going on versus what is going on the ground at these vet practices? Where are the real issues lying that is having a negative impact on the revenues going down, staff satisfaction is going down, a lot of bad outcomes. We then come on to information systems and uses of technology. We've got the business management system. Key note here for your pestle analysis. It's an off-the-shelf, not bespoke package. They've not had any updates in 8 years, which the large multinational companies have done themselves. It's only basic information on here, and as well they have to make telephone contact details for booking consultations. There's no online booking. And when you hear words such as limited information on PVS, its missions and values, that is the business development director's issue. It's relating to the loss of sales, customer retention. So the business development director is accountable for that limited information and developing the business as a result on that. There's no facility for clients to actually communicate with the clinics via email. Again, poor systems in place. And PVS has only a very limited social media presence in terms of generating new leads and new clients. The new clients has dropped down to 7,000 this year and was previously 11,000 the year before. Again, have a look at page 10 to see the breakdown of that. There is a private network in intranet on there, tricky word, but it doesn't sound like it's an efficient system. There are major issues that go on with this, and despite the past history of innovation, PVS is still yet to make any major investments in technological advances in pet care. Well, this is terribly worrying because that is what the multinational organizations are doing. They're putting cash for capital expenditure, possible area for unseen information on your exam day because the rivals have got a competitive advantage against us, and we have no operations director responsible with, and the responsibility really lies with the district managers and the senior veterinarians who are not part of the board of directors, which we've been told all of the decision making is being made centrally on there. So like me, I'm sort of scratching my head going, oh my word, how is this all fitting into play and going to be resolved? And this is where you've got so much ammunition from this pre-C material to apply on the exam day, as long as you're on top of what is going on. Well, that nicely brings us to a close for this session on here. This is for part 4. We're going to go on to part 5 after this, where we're going to start on the services. So make sure you're subscribed. Feel free to like this video. And if you want access to the notes or to download a mock exam, click the links in the description below. And I'll see you on the other side. There'll be a few videos on the top for you to take advantage of. So thanks very much, and I'll see you soon.